Hi, I'm Mel Pickup, Chief Executive of Bradford Teaching Hospitals, and welcome to this week's update focusing on our place. Whenever a patient is in our care, we of course hope to make them better, but it's inevitable that for some people we find ourselves treating them as they approach the end of their life. Our palliative care team is a crucial part of this journey, providing essential support not only to our patients but to their loved ones as well. This week we find more out about the team's work and how one specialist nurse in particular is helping us to support our diverse community.
So the palliative care team is a group of doctors and nurses, and we see patients who've got a diagnosis that they're not going to get better from. But a big part of our job is to make sure however long someone has, that's as good as it can be that time.
They just said they wanted him comfortable, the treatment hadn't worked previously, and even if it did, in a week's time we would be able to...
Often we do a lot of difficult conversations with patients and families about what might be coming and what's important to them in that time.
And then I stopped to talk to the granddaughter because she was quite upset and she started to talk about...
As a team, I think we were very aware that we're a very white team and we live in Bradford, which has a very diverse community. And one of the Trust's aims, and one we would echo, is that we want to represent the population that we serve. And so we'd felt that we perhaps needed to be able to target recruitment to someone from a more diverse background. The other thing we know is from our numbers, when we look at them about the patients we do see, we think we see slightly less patients than we would do from a South Asian community, or that we should be doing. It felt important to have someone who comes from that community and can be sort of a bridge in some ways. So part of Selma's role is you're not only seeing the patients, it's also, if you like, upskilling us within the palliative care team, but also wider across the hospital.
If things change in the next few hours and we're not able to get your grandma home, I think the most rewarding part of my job is I can walk into a room, I can go with one of my colleagues who's not of South Asian origin, and we can go in, and it's amazing the different interaction that you get. I could give a greeting to my patients and I have that instant trust built with them, and I'm able to alleviate those worries and fears patients have, and I'm able to instantly build that connection with them, and that's the most rewarding part of my job. Everything is in Allah's hands, of course it is. We can't predict, we can just say this is what we think, but I do think there's a significant change since yesterday, and it might be by the end of the day we might not get your grandma home, and we have to be honest with you. The notion in palliative care of a good death is someone having good understanding of their prognosis, diagnosis, and being engaged in advanced care planning. And I think often within the South Asian culture, because our culture's different, our values and traditions are different to mainstream Western society, I think there's often barriers that arise, such as the language, communication, what we want at the end of life, and how our needs can be met. It's all right. I'm so sorry, it's such a tough time, isn't it? And with our ageing population within the community, we're going to get a lot more patients who are coming towards the end of their lives, and I can make that instant difference to them. I can greet them Islamically, I can greet them in a language that's familiar to them, and their eyes just light up. A number of weeks ago, we had a lady on our caseload. She was a Muslim by faith. She was coming to the end of her life. She was back and forth from hospital because she was in a lot of denial. She didn't want to increase her medication doses. She didn't want a permanent draining. She was coming in once she had a build-up of ascites in her tummy. And she was coming back and forth, back and forth. We recognised as a team she was deteriorating. She was coming to the end of her life and she was suicidal. We had to go at her pace, and this is what we will always do. We respect families, we respect patients, we go with their flow. If there's something, they don't want to discuss end-of-life care planning with us, we'll stop, we'll go at their pace, we don't force it upon people. We talked about religion, we talked about how in the Islamic faith suicide is forbidden, and she said I was never going to carry that out. Faith is important to me. We talked about how faith could bring her comfort, so she was able to engage with me. She knew that her death was coming soon and she would have to accept it. We were then able to move on to advanced care planning. One of the things she really struggled with was she wanted a son to be with her at the time, and we were able to arrange that with the ward to allow that in her last moments for her to be surrounded by her children, especially a 5-year-old. So through religion and having that knowledge of religion, I was able to engage with her, and I was able to be let into a place where she'd not let anyone in for months and months. And it was quite touching for her and myself because that trust was instant.